All right, so we're gonna make another video for these reviews, and let's hope more than one person watches it this time. All right, we're gonna start with 1B. So I did the A's in class. If you weren't there, B should be enough. So 1B says find the slope of this line and give the equation of any line it is parallel to. So first, to find the slope of this line, we need to solve for y. So I have 5x minus 4y equals 9. I need to get y by itself, so I need to get rid of this x, which means subtract 5x from both sides. So I get negative 4y equals negative 5x plus 9. Then I divide both sides by a negative 4. So our equation ends up being y equals negative 5 divided by negative 4 is just positive 5 over 4, x, then minus 9 over 4. So this is my equation, which means my slope is 5 over 4. And it wants the equation of a line parallel to this. So parallel means that the slopes are the same. So I just need to have an equation where the slope is 5/4. So I can pick any intercept I want, but I have to have y equals, it'll be 5/4 x, and then again, your intercept does not matter. As long as this slope is the same, it will be parallel. So I'm just going to pick plus, what's going on here? I'm going to pick plus 8. So just because we have a slope of 5 over 4, that means it is parallel. Now this next one wants the slope of a line, and then any line it is perpendicular to. So for 2B, first we have to figure out what our slope is. So it's going to be the same thing as the last one. We have to solve for y. So I subtract 6x from both sides. And I get negative 3y equals negative 6x plus 7. Divide everything by negative 3. So my equation at the end is y equals negative 6 divided by negative 3 is 2. So 2x minus 7/3. Now it wants the equation of a line perpendicular. So we need to figure out what the slope perpendicular to it is. So I'll have y equals, since this one is a positive, for perpendicular we have to switch the sign. So positive will change to a negative. And this one is 2 over 1. We have to flip the fraction. So 2 over 1 becomes 1 over 2. And again, I can pick any intercept I want. So I'm going to say plus 5. So this equation is perpendicular to this one. (3B), it says write an inequality to represent the graph. So first off, I need to figure out the equation of this line. So if I look right here, not right there. If I look right here, my intercept is at negative 4. And my other point would be right here, which would be up 1 over 3. So my slope would be up 1 over 3, which is 1/3. And my intercept is negative 4. So I know I'm going to have 1/3 x minus 4. But I have to have y. And now I need to figure out, is it y is less than or y is greater than? Well, since this is shaded below our line, we know its y is less than. And since this is a solid line, it has to be equal to. If it was a dotted line, we would not have the equal to. So this inequality represents the graph. So first, find your intercept, find your slope, then figure out if it's less than or greater than. If it's greater than, it's shaded above. Less than, it's shaded below. Dotted line does not have this line. Solid line does have the equal to line. All right, next up we have 4a. So this is a regression one. So I'm going to pull up my calculator. So we're going to start by do the b's. Oh, that says A. That should be B. So we have this table given to us. So we're going to use our calculator. So new. Don't save the old one. Add lists and spreadsheets. Where we have A, we're going to put X. B, we're going to put Y. Then we're going to fill in our information. So we have 1990, 1991, 1992, and 1993. Then if we look at our Y's, we have 6, 14.5, 23, and 31.5. Then we make sure we have a white box highlighted, not one of these gray ones or else it won't work. So a white box. And this is where we hit menu, 4 for statistics, 1 for stat calculations, 3 for linear regression. So menu 413. We put X in X list, Y in Y list, and then hit OK. So it should give us our M and our B value. So all we have to do now is write an equation. So I have Y equals, notice right here my M is 8.5, so Y equals 8.5x. My B is negative 16,909. So I put negative 16,909. So that's my equation. Now my correlation coefficient, we have to go down to where we see just R, not R squared. And in this case, it's just 1. So I have R equals 1. And that's all you have to do. Most of the time that will not be 1. It will be 0.9 something, close to 1. That one just happened to be 1 though. I really forgot to change these to B's. My bad. Should be 5B. All right, this one says graph the inequality. So there's 2 ways to do this one. We can either solve for Y or we can do our intercepts. I'll do both ways. So I have 4x minus 2y is less than 4. So first I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides. So I get negative 2y is less than negative 4x plus 4. Then I divide everything by a negative 2. And remember, when you divide by a negative, you flip your sign. So y is greater than negative 4 divided by negative 2 is positive 2. Ignore my dog crying. And then we have 2x. 4 divided by negative 2 is negative 2. So if you divide by a negative, make sure you flip your sign or else you will get it wrong. So now we just graph this. So our intercept is negative 2. And our slope is positive 2. So I go up 2 over 1. Up 2 over 1. Or down 2, left 1. Stop. All right, now since this one is greater than, it doesn't have the equal to line. It's going to be a dotted line. And since it's y is greater than, we have to shade above the line. If it was less than, you'd shade below the line. Stop. All right, the other way is to do your intercepts. So I'm going to start with my x-intercept. So that's when we plug in a 0 for y. So I have 4x minus 2 times 0 less than 4. So those cancel out. We get 4x is less than 4. And divide by 4. So we get our intercept is going to be 1. So I put a point at x equals 1. Now our y-intercept, we plug in a 0 for x. So I have 4 times 0 minus 2y is less than 4. 4 times 0 cancels out, so I get negative 2y is less than 4. Divide by negative 2. So y, negative 2. So our intercept there is a negative 2. Now, since this does not have the line, the equal to line, it is dashed. So I just draw a dashed line. And if we're doing the intercept way, we do have to use a test point. So my test point will be 0, 0. And I plug in 0, 0. I get 4 times 0 minus 2 times 0 is less than 4. Well, 4 times 0 and 2 times 0 are both equal to 0. So I get 0 is less than 4. Since this is a true statement, I'm going to shade the side that includes my test point, which would be over here. If it did not make a true statement, I would shade the other side that does not include our test point. Okay, 6b. Once again, I forgot to change that to a b. So write the equation of a line parallel to y equals 1/4 x plus 5, going through the points 12, negative 2. So we're going to have a line parallel, which means our slope has to be the same. So I need a slope of 1/4. So I have y equals 1/4 x plus b. So here's our x is 12, our y is negative 2. I plug those in, so negative 2 equals 1/4 times 12 plus b. So negative 2 equals 1/4 times 12, so 12 times 1 is 12, divided by 4 is 3. Then I subtract 3, and I get negative 5 equals b. So my final equation is y equals, we keep our slope, so that's a 1/4. So 1/4 x, and then our slope, our intercept was a negative 5, so minus 5. So y equals negative 1, or y equals 1/4 x minus 5. Seven B says write the equation of a line perpendicular to 5x minus y equals 3, containing the point 10, -1. So again, on this one, we're going to have to solve this to get into slope-intercept form. So I start by subtracting 5x from both sides. So I get -y equals -5x plus 3. Then I can't leave this as a -y, so I'm going to divide everything by a -1. Remember, there is a 1 in front there. So I get y equals -5 divided by -1 is just a +5. 3 divided by -3 is -3. So our slope in this case is a +5. But since it wants something perpendicular, our new slope is going to be y equals, this one's a positive, so the new one has to be a negative. This is 5/1, so the perpendicular slope has to be 1/5. And then we have plus b. Then we just plug in our points, so my y is -1, and my x is 10. When I simplify that, -1/5 times 10, so -1 times 10 is -10, divided by 5 is -2. Then I add 2 to both sides. -1 plus 2 is a +1. So b equals 1, which means my final equation is y equals -1/5 x plus 1. Okay, 8b. So identify if the situation represents association or causation. So remember, association is if two things may be linked, but one does not cause the other. Causation is if one thing absolutely causes the other one to happen. So if we look at this one, it says the number of tacos purchased and the cost of the bill. Well, the more tacos you purchase, that definitely affects how much your bill is going to cost. So if it causes it, the number of tacos bought causes the cost of the bill to change, this has to be causation. And since these are easy, I'm going to do 8a as well here. So the more cookies eaten, the more milk a household will buy in 1 week. So you can eat cookies with milk, but that is not the only reason you buy milk. So one of these things does not absolutely cause the other one. So this one would be association. Okay, 9b. We have y is less than 2. So if you remember when we had an equation like y equals 2, that was a horizontal line. Well, this is going to be the same thing. So we're going to have a horizontal line at y equals 2. And since this is less than or equal to, it will be a solid line. Now y is less than 2, so it has to be everything below. So we shade all of that. And that's it. If it was greater than, we'd shade above. And our last one says list one point that is a solution and one point that is not. So if we need a solution, it has to be in the shaded area. So let's go with this point right here. So 3, -5 is a solution. And not a solution would be 0, 0. because that one is not in the shaded area. And then it asks us, is 3, -3 a solution? So if we go to 3, -3, that's on a solid line. Anything on a solid line is a solution. So yes, it is on a solid line. But if you look at 10A, you have 0, 3. So that one, notice, is on a dotted line. That is not a solution. So this one would be no. It is on a dotted line. So the line does matter. And then that is the end. So make sure you complete this before your test.